High Level is a full CRM and marketing platform, and I've used some of the best in the SaaS industry. And we are live from LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. I think I got them all. It's Revening's Wednesday. Welcome to Wednesday, Revenue Party people. We've got our hot topics and our hot guests that we're going to get into here in just a moment. But first, I want to introduce you, if you haven't heard of, Cherry Assistant. So Cherry Assistant is a virtual assistant company, and they've helped me delegate. If you haven't seen Layla in the comments, she's with Cherry Assistant and she's constantly working with our clients. There's also a video editor who helps us, but Cherry Assistant does more than just the stuff that we do. Obviously, what we do is super unique, but they also do the stuff that you need. So think about it really quick. What do you need to delegate? Is there some sort of executive assistant task that is in the back of your head? Maybe bookkeeping, maybe something else, maybe data entry. Think about it and go to cherryassistant.com, fill out their form, let them know that you heard about them through WinsDay to get $250 off your first month, and get a virtual assistant who is working the same hours that you work. They'll find someone who speaks your language and has the skills that you need. And they align you with a virtual assistant that will work for you. So scan that QR code if you're watching here on video. Otherwise, go to cherryassistant.com. And like I said, let them know that you heard about them through WinsDay, and you'll get $250 off your first month. Otherwise, I want to let you know about High Level. So we use High Level here internally. And if you haven't heard of it, it's a CRM and a marketing automation platform. And so basically, it's like our everything tool. And then we've white labeled it. So all of our clients get an account. That way, we're able to literally just show them the leads that we are able to help them bring in through booking podcast guests, as well as getting registrations to their live streams, and just other ways that we help them get leads. We have a CRM that we're able to give them if they don't already have one. So it's an agency CRM and marketing automation platform that we white label. It literally has a Revening logo on it. It's called app.revening.com, but it's High Level. So we use it in that way, and maybe you want to use that in that way too. And if so, I'd love to help you out with that. Otherwise, if you just want one account, it's only $97 a month, which, full disclosure, is why I started using it in the first place. Oh, sorry, wobbly table. I was a spoiled CMO. I had all the fancy tools, but once I started my own business, I couldn't afford them. And High Level had all the features that I needed in my budget. So if you're looking for a CRM and marketing automation platform, scan that QR code right here or go to revening.com/Wednesday to check it out and get a 30-day free trial. Other than that, we have some really great guests. So Layla, what do you say? Let's bring them here on stage. We've got Dane and Jimmy here with us tonight. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. So, in good old fashioned Wednesday style, I guess I didn't prep you for this pre show, but we like to ask you to tell us your full life story from birth to what brought you to now. But in 2 minutes, we're going to put a clock on the screen. So, Dane, could you kick us off?
Yeah, so I'm born and raised Pittsburgh, so that's my hometown. Still love heading back there, but God, I mean, I did not have a linear career at all after growing up and then leaving my hometown. I've lived in Raleigh, North Carolina, Cleveland, Ohio. Currently live in Pensacola, Florida. I've worked in education. I've worked for the Department of Defense. I've started my own agency, sold my shares in that agency, joined another agency, worked in as a copywriter, local SEO, all sorts of different things to arrive here at SearchLab. So yeah, my background copywriting, and then happened to get into SEO around about 2012, and then sort of history ever since. Now I get the privilege to join wonderful folks like yourselves here tonight, and get to travel the globe and speak about local SEO content and sort of the psychology of copywriting. So that's sort of me in a nutshell. I normally don't beat the countdown clocks because I'm kind of a talker, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take this win.
Wow, you did it, a copywriter. And I mean, I guess that's pretty good because you're not supposed to be super verbose. Because I mean, people don't like to read, right, Dane?
Yeah, I know people. Yeah, it's getting more and more a pivot to video, right? I mean, the way people are consuming things is definitely changing. So for sure.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for that story. I really appreciate it. Jimmy, we're looking forward to learning about you too. We're going to put 2 minutes up on the clock, and we want to learn, where were you born and what brought you to now?
Okay, well, let's see if I can do the same. So, my name is Jimmy Newson. I'm known as the impact influencer. I'm not an influencer as an influencer supermodel, but someone that likes to help small businesses. If we look at where I was when I was a baby and where I am now, I'm still bald, so I think we've come full circle with that. And I remember, let's skip a few years. I remember my first entrepreneurial scenario where I was in the seventh grade, and I started selling lollipops for a quarter, and I realized that the second hour was the witching hour. That's where I made the most of my money before lunchtime. I didn't know it was entrepreneurship. And it was just a great way to make money. And then once the competition came in, they ruined it for everyone. And then I moved on to other normal stuff until I graduated, and I actually went into the music industry. I had a band. I played in a band. I was working with the Grammys. I got a chance to start to travel the world. And then I left the music industry in 2005, went into video production for corporate. From there, I started selling video. People didn't know what to do with the video because we were selling also to small businesses, which pushed me into marketing. Marketing pushed me into consulting and advising small businesses in general. In 2020, I formed Moving Forward Small Business, where we focus on innovation, technology, and strategy for small businesses. And that's where we are here today.
Amazing. I love that story. And I love that piece of like video production that you did in corporate.
Yeah, they had budgets.
They had budgets. Yeah, good stuff.
Musicians don't have budgets.
That's true.
They
That's
have
true.
hopes
But,
and dreams.
and I love that. I love that the people who have the hopes and dreams and they go for it and they put it all in,
Yeah.
because there's some people out there who are just like Netflix and chilling all day long. And some people out there who are really grinding. So I'm with those people who are out there going after their passions and their dreams. So anyway, I digress. Let's get into our first topic. So AI search for auto dealers, which is an industry that often sets the stage for marketing. Like, we learn a lot from auto dealers. There's a lot of budget there. So I'm excited to learn about this and how Google's overviews shape visibility. So Dane, can you kick us off on this?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, auto can serve as a bellwether for where things are potentially heading in the near future. And so, a lot of these principles, a lot of these things to address what's happening with AI overviews are applicable across industries, right? We're seeing a lot of this, similar trends in terms of market penetration, or I guess search penetration of AI overviews. And there's varying degrees of what's happening. So, for example, we did a study here at SearchLab, and I took 1,600 different search queries across 4 different brands, car dealer brands, and 3 different metros. Try to choose different metropolitan areas. That way we got kind of a diverse insights on what's really happening, because I don't like to just trust what tools like SEMrush or others tell us about what's happening in terms of overviews and citations and visibility and sort of the AI marketplace. I want to see things manually. So for example, for transactional searches, so when people have indicated either explicitly a purchase intent by using different modifiers like for sale, near me, city, state, or they're very precise in looking at trim levels or seeking other things that have demonstrated some previous search behaviors, or if they don't, and Google just knows based on their search history that they're ready to look at inventory, right? AI overviews only trigger an average of 10% of the time, but that varies, right? Google's making results very personalized. So even from market to market, they're different. For example, here in Pensacola, the AI overviews triggered about 20% of the time for transactional searches. And why is that? Well, as I dug in, discovered that for those 4 brands chosen, there's only one dealership within 30 miles that represent that brand. So Google said, oh, we don't want to just give you this one option. We want to give you options, right? We want to help you shop. So they gave me an AI overview that gave me other options beyond that radius, right? Beyond that scope. Whereas in Dallas, well, there's multiple dealerships of every brand in a big metro like Dallas. So they only triggered 5% of the time because there were multiple options. So Google didn't have to assess to give me a different dynamic in terms of the traditional layout that you usually see with the blue links, the local pack where you have your Google business profiles trigger. But then you think about also, the other options, the other SERP features, the other things people see when they are engaging with results from searches. So for example, 33% of the time, the traditional blue organic links, at least 2, on average 2, showed above the AI overview, meaning Google's still serving up sort of the best content to encourage those clicks because, well, again, they've shown that purchase intent. Whereas commercial mid-funnel searches, it was only about 15% of the time that there were results above the AI overview. So it depends from market to market. It depends on the type of search conducted. But then we don't want to ignore where we can get those clicks as well. So for example, for transactional searches, people also ask. So it's a little SERP feature that shows up and there's a little drop-down menu and it's other questions that people have asked in relation to that core topic that you explicitly entered. That triggers 99% of the time. Video for commercial triggers 71% of the time, a video pack. So we have to also understand, we can get informed and glean what Google's seeing about how people like to consume this content. So we can look at the SERP layout and derive some maybe tactics or strategies to apply to best meet our consumers with not just what they're searching for, but how they want to receive that answer. So there's a lot of dynamics we can pull from just the idea that, oh my God, AI overviews are eating away clicks. It can inform us about consumer behaviors, which can then help us develop better strategies. So, I guess the TLDR of it all is don't panic about these AI overviews, leverage them. Look at the real world returns actual consumers are seeing to understand how you can pivot some of your strategies, be agile to, again, you want to meet consumers, right? Show up where demand exists and deliver the type of content that people want to consume. So I guess that's really the core takeaway there.
Such a great point. I mean, I guess the question will go to, well, how do you know what content that they want you to create?
Yeah, so, it's really based on what your consumers are searching for, right? The consumers need to dictate that. And you don't just want to rely only on traditional keyword research tools like a SEMrush, Ahrefs, or Moz. You really want to dig into, and we can talk all the jargon of like cosine similarity and vector embeddings and all this jargon small business owners are hearing, but it's essentially this. Your content should reflect the way your consumers speak. It needs to be more natural, more conversational. So beyond the scope of just keyword research, dive into Reddit and Quora. Look at reviews of your own business. Look at your competitors' reviews. What are people's sentiment, their concerns, their objections, the things that they like most about the products or services that you're offering? And for example, car dealerships, features of the vehicle. So what are people actually saying? And you can use other tools such as People Also Ask or Answer the Public. There's even Chrome extensions like People Also Ask, where the Chrome extension will trigger and aggregate all those People Also Ask questions that trigger with that core search. So you can get more insights about not just how to address the explicit need of the consumer, but then what are all the implicit needs? What are all the things they haven't thought of yet to ask that we know will be of value add to them? So when we can structure, prioritize, and create the content that best suits within the market, right? Not just generally speaking, but within the market that business is actually operating in.
Interesting. I love it. So just out of curiosity, this is all related to organic search, right? You're not even getting into like targeting with ads deterministically. This is all just, okay.
Yep, this is all organic. And of course, I always recommend to any small business, media modeling mix, right? You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. You want to have a diverse portfolio of the way that you're reaching consumers, right? Because again, going back to meet consumers where they are, be found where demand exists. And so you need to understand, where are your consumers engaging? And it could be alternative platforms as well, whether that's an LLM like ChatGPT or Perplexity, or if they're engaging on TikTok. And of course, there's, organic TikTok strategies, or, maybe it's targeting them with ads on through Meta platforms. So again, it's really understanding, and now this goes beyond the scope of Google AI overviews and everything, but, understand how your consumers are behaving, and then understand how to build out a better marketing portfolio to, again, assess what channels really deliver the biggest bang for your buck. And oftentimes, that's why I work in SEO. We often see for our small business that we work with, organic typically delivers the highest conversions leads, at least, on the website itself, and as opposed to other channels. But again, understanding, how do people want to consume? Where are your consumers at? And then craft that content for those specific platforms.
I love it. Yes. Making sure that you're being native to those platforms is so important. Like, what works on one platform. I was just talking to a client about this. What works on one platform doesn't work on the other. Specifically for that conversation, I was talking about hashtags. So it's like your hashtag strategy on LinkedIn is going to be different than your hashtag strategy on YouTube, than on Instagram. And it's the same sort of thing, right? You want to be native for that platform. Otherwise, you're going to look like a big spammer if you come in here on LinkedIn and you're putting like 50 hashtags at the end of your post. So David says, I love how Dane's shirt matches the riveting green. I totally agree. Loving the green and red. This is a really great conversation. So Jimmy, I'm curious, what's your take on all of this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm heavy in the SEO side of things as well, so everything that Dane said makes perfect sense. I'm trying not to speak too much because I'm going to follow him with a deeper dive into SEO search. But the key thing that I want to let everybody know is, you're seeing all of these conversations around SEO is dead. And we're now living in the world of GEO, generative engine optimization, AEO, all these terms. And the bottom line is that's absolutely not true. You still must do fundamental SEO tactics and strategies, because that in itself supports GEO and AEO and all these other terminologies that you're going to start seeing around. So there's no escape. That what AI search has done is added more layers on top of what you already have as a foundation. So more needs to be done, but I think it actually makes you a better business at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%. Well, this has been a really great topic. Before we wrap it up, I'll just ask Dane, is there anything else you want to add before we transition?
No, I mean, again, the real takeaway is there's a lot of fear mongering. To Jimmy's point, the whole SEO is dead. I did a conference, a couple conferences recently where I had a slide that had I think it was like 157 articles over the last 10 years that claimed SEO was dead, from, Forbes to, every major publication to minor regional publications. And so, SEO has died a whole lot, and yet SEO is still very much sort of the underpinnings behind all these systems. to get you that visibility, no matter sort of what platforms people are using, whether it's a generative output or a more traditional search engine output that you're getting.
100%. Great topic. I would love to hear what the audience is thinking. I see there's 6 of you on YouTube. I see we've got AP and David asking some questions. So we've got, let's see, AP saying solid notes, Dane. David is like, what might work on one platform might not work on the other. Yes. Don't be a spammer on LinkedIn with hashtags. Yes. Agreed. We don't want too many hashtags. Let's get into our second topic. And if anyone tuning in has any questions, comments, whatever, you just want to let us know what color shirt you're wearing, just plug it in the chat. We want to hear from you. Preparing your brand for the age of AI search. Oof, this is a big one. So, Jimmy, can you kick us off on this one?
Absolutely. It is a big one. I recently just completed a 6-part series on this topic. That's how I broke it up into 6 parts, because it was so massive. This topic is, to me, something that's going to affect almost every business on the planet. I say almost because there's a few businesses that might be able to escape without having some form of digital presence. That's not my world. That leaves the rest where, when we talk about preparing ourselves for AI search, we're talking about, Google represents the traditional platform. Then you got Bing and the other platforms, and Google owns, a huge percentage of all of that traffic. As AI search starts to come in, we talk about the fact that we still have to do traditional strategies to make sure that our organic, our traditional SEO is strong. So we actually have a better, we actually come out the gate stronger for these AI-based platforms, such as Gemini and ChatGPT. Now they got SearchGPT and Claude and DeepSeek. And each one of these tools, as we're seeing, each have their own set of criteria on how you're ranking, which now introduces a whole nother level of complication, because you're not monitoring one, you have to now start to monitor as many as you can. Now, the easiest thing to do, and this is what I usually recommend to clients, is figure out which one you're actually doing the best at, and then double down on that single platform so you can crush that. And then if you're able to get that done, then you can move on to another platform. So let's say you start in the AI, the Google AI search area, and then you move over to ChatGPT because you've seen through data that you're doing well in either one of these, and just forget all about Perplexity. The key things when we think about AI search is, what are the 2 most important factors in AI search? It's visibility and it's sentiment. How much space, how much market share are you showing up in, whether that's locally, regionally, or nationally, or globally. And then how do people feel about you? These 2 things have become the key elements to understanding how you're able to show up in these AI search engines. Now, I'm a big component of technology. So we stand for innovation, technology, and strategy. So for smaller businesses, you have to start leveraging tech a little bit more. And I agree with Dane when he said, sometimes you don't rely on a single tool, and you should never rely on a single tool. But you do need to develop some form of a tool, a tech stack, where you might have 2 or 3 tools and a few different methodologies to back up what you're finding in a tool like a SEMrush or Ahref or any other tool that's starting to rebuild their structures to be able to leverage AI strategies and leverage what's going on in the world of AI search. So we look at we analyze brand visibility and insights. How do these engines see you? So for me, that's a first step. I want to see, are we even showing up for anything that's relevant in these AI search engines, whether it's branded or non-branded. And then if we are, or if we're not, then we can move on to our next stage, which is to start to analyze our content, because there is a way that you can formulate your content to actually start to show up better. The days of these 500 blog articles that have a bunch of block texts and no H2s and H3s and bullet lists and skimmable content are done. You're going to have to go back and start to revamp those pages to make them more accessible to these AI search engines that's just looking for things to lift from those pages based on not only just the page, but any and everything else that it might find out about you on the internet. So let me take a step back here for a second, where traditional search was focused primarily on the website. AI search is formulated around any and everything it can find any and everything that they can find about you and the topic that you want to show up for. Dane mentioned Quora, Reddit, YouTube. All of these platforms just became even more important as part of your overall appearance and your authority building. So when these tools decide what does it want to use to determine, are you the right person to show, is taking into account all of this stuff. So again, I mentioned earlier, it puts more on your plate. But at the end of the day, I think it makes you a better company. It makes you a better organization because you're now forced to take more to understand the bigger picture of your brand across the entire internet. So that's just the starting point. I'm going to stop there because I can keep going and lose my voice up in here. But I'm going to chill and let's see what you got.
No, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing it. It's such a big topic. It's so important. Everyone needs to be paying attention to this. And even myself here at Reveting, we need to be doing a better job. Everyone needs to be doing a better job about becoming more searchable. So Dane, you know a lot about this too. What's your take on this topic?
Yeah, Jimmy's exactly right on a lot of these points when you talk about the formatting of context, information architecture, making sure you don't have just blocks of text, making sure you have one clear H1, making sure you have clean semantic HTML. All these things are very important. I mean, we have to understand the fundamental difference, right? I'm a guy that says, look, my company's never going to offer SEO and then GEO as a separate service. Our search service is just going to evolve with the platforms that people are using. So I'm a proponent of, look, if you're getting sold on your company goes, you got SEO, but now we got to upcharge you or charge you for a separate service for GEO, I think is bupkis. I think that's nonsense. It's all the same sort of important things, right? Writing naturally for LLMs, that's SEO. Clean semantic HTML, that was SEO. Bullet lists and charts and different formatting to make information more clear using schema markup, right? It's been SEO. Clear content. So we just have to understand that the systems, they operate differently, right? Traditional search has been, the search engine goes into its corpus of documents, finds a document that has that keyword and different elements on that within that document itself. And then it assesses, on a number of algorithmic factors, how they're going to order it, right? And then you get all those documents as those blue links. Whereas these generative systems, they look for what pieces of documents have the most succinct, clear, best answer to that person's need. And then you think about query fan out, like information gain. What are the additional details, right? The devil's in the details, right? Context matters. So often I'll see content on websites that, and again, I'll go back to car dealers because that was still on my mind from the first question, right? It'll talk about how the new Honda Civic has a bunch of new infotainment features. What are they? You need the context, right? You need to feed the system the data it needs to be able to extract it. You can't have LLMs and generative engines parse you if you don't have the right context and information on the page. So again, it's really understanding how to flesh out this content with the context that matters to consumers. And so that's why I said, really understanding the breadth of the ways people are searching for things. And it's not just the what, but it's the how. Again, the language that they're using. So absolutely making sure that you understand how these systems work. But again, it's all underpinned by a lot of the same foundational tactics.
Absolutely. And if I can jump back in real quick, the other side of that coin is now what you have to make sure you're doing off of the site. And that becomes, press releases now for us, for our clients, have now become more relevant again. I remember we stopped doing press releases altogether. Absolutely.
You're doing press releases again?
Yes. And we're not doing them.
You putting them on the wire?
No, putting them on the wire. We're putting them in different places, but it's really about, if we look at what these search engines are, these AI search engines are doing, it's about, mentions. It's about citations from those AI search engines as well. So between we're going after trying to make sure we're covered in certain publications that are relevant to our industry, whether that, if you're a plumber, it's Plumber Digest and things like that now start to build your offline structure. And then we're having our clients build, company-based profiles on Reddit, company-based profiles on Quora, and then making sure that we're answering questions in a non-salesy, non-aggressive way, and being very helpful, but showing our expertise. And then making sure that our all of our social channels are 100% in alignment with what we're doing, because now again it's parsing all these other things in addition to what's on the site to make sure there's complete alignment. I'll share two wins. Last week alone I picked up two massive partnerships just because of ChatGPT, not just because they searched for me, but the people were very clear on what they were looking for in the person.
Okay.
And what it was able to do is one person, they actually put me and two other people into ChatGPT, gave them their requirements, and had ChatGPT rate us, and it rated me back, and they sent me the actual breakdown, and it was mind blowing. It was very specific to actually who I am. And so when we talk about parsing all these little pieces from different places, you're helping to build a narrative about yourself and about your brand in a way that is easy for it to understand, pick it up, and then help the end user make a decision. I heard, I wasn't sure if it was today or yesterday, someone said, these search engines are now becoming that place where people don't want to ask a question, they want to have a conversation to an answer.
Yes, that's so true. I'm sorry. I'm seeing like all these people like walking into the stage. I'm like, what's happening here in the background? Hey, Chris Sherrick here in the background. So yeah, no, this is a great topic. And I love that you got two customers from ChatGPT. Did they tell you like what they went into ChatGPT and searched to find you?
Well, I had a conversation. So this is where, again, you're not relying just on tools. I get to talk to these people because they were actually calling me. So I was able to get,
That's the
insight
best way
on,
to get real information is just ask them.
yeah, you just ask them. So that in itself becomes another data point, and that backs up your bigger picture, your bigger focus area, your goals, your objectives. So it doesn't come from one or two different places, but you need to be making sure you're collecting valid data from every possible angle you can that will help to kind of dictate what I should be doing, whether it is specifically for AI specific things or just generally running your business.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. And I mean, speaking of cars and engines, Dane, I loved what you were saying too about having the right data to feed the AI. I mean, and I say speaking of cars and engines because the data is like the fuel that feeds the engine, right? So like when we're thinking about AI, he was talking about context and content earlier, like absolutely. Layla and I were just talking about this too when we're writing posts for clients. And yes, we use ChatGPT for inspiration, AI, perplexity, whatever, whichever one you're using. And just tell it everything. Tell it exactly what you want. Tell the context. That's the really important part. But anyway, I digress. We have two more hot topics and a brief ad. So we'll be getting into that third topic right after this brief message from Cherry Assistant.
This is Mike, also known as Clean with Mike on Twitter. Mike hired a virtual assistant from Cherry Assistant about 2 years ago. Now, he has a $50K per month business fully managed by a remote operator in South Africa. His VA from South Africa does the following: closing inbound leads on the phone, Yelp and Google and Facebook, manages his CRM and Go high level, deals with rescheduling, cancellations, any issues, hires and manages the cleaners, and sends them daily reports and updates. Mike has a fully cash flowing business managed by a remote operator for only $8 an hour. You can also hire a US equivalent worker in the Philippines, South Africa, Latin America for a fraction of the cost with Cherry Assistant. Be like Mike and grow your business with offshore staff.
And if you're listening on podcast, what we're showing on screen right now is a menu of services from Cherry Assistant, including lead generation, CRM management, prospecting assistance, sales presentation preparation, data entry and cleanup, customer support, and project management assistance. So just head on over to cherryassistant.com, fill out their form, talk to them, let them know that you heard about them through WinsDay for $250 off your first month. And other than that, we want to make sure and tell you about High Level. Scan the QR code or go to reveting.com to get a free 30-day trial. So if you're spending too much money, we'll say whatever, like that's subjective. But I mean, High Level is only $97 a month. and you get all the bells and whistles, CRM and marketing automation platform. That's enough said. Scan the QR code if you're watching on video, or if you're on podcast, go to reveting.com/high-level for a 30-day free trial on my affiliate link. But Ola AP here in the background. Hey, Layla, what's happening?
Hey, Jesse, I don't normally do this, but it is a special day. Before you go into your other topics, I have a couple of people who want to say something nice to you. So I'll bring them on if you're wondering why there's a lot of people joining.
Oh my gosh, yeah. What's happening?
Jay.
Hey, Oscar. Hey, David. Hey, Chris. Brandy. Hey, what's up?
And we have our amazing guests.
Look at the squad.
Hola, hola.
Hola.
Yeah, I thought it would be nice for everyone to surprise you and just say happy birthday.
Well, I got surprised.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Happy birthday, Jesse. Hey.
Oh
Happy
my
birthday.
gosh, Layla, you're amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
I mean, you're here. I feel like you should all say something. Tell the world who you are.
Who wants to
All
go?
right. All right, I'll go first because, it's like this whole chicken situation. Who's going to go first? I don't know. All right, guys, my name is Andrew Paul, AP for short. I wear multiple hats, just as you know, but one of my main gigs is being a co-founder of King of the Curve, one of the three. Forbes 30 under 30 backed, VC backed, all that fun stuff. We are trying to make a solution that tackles the test prep era problem of medical education, as well as also trying to solve for high quality content generation at scale for anyone wanting to learn anything. That's what we've been doing for the last 5 years.
Jesse, you rock. It's Chris, just here to say happy birthday to my favorite marketing guru, badass mom, and business owner. I got to jump, but thank you so much. So great to see you guys.
See you, Chris.
Appreciate.
I like how Chris waved to me when I said hi, and I was looking at his eyes through my screen, and he was like, "Oh, you're saying hi to me." David Goki here, love tech, and I love to see more people go live on LinkedIn.
I'm DJ. Jesse, happy birthday. You've been amazing to work with, and it's been a pleasure to get to know you, and I hope to continue this amazing partnership that we have. And yeah, happy birthday and happy Wednesday, everybody.
Brandy, do you want to go next? Oh, I don't know if she can hear me.
Happy birthday, Jesse.
Jesse, you're on mute.
Oh shoot, sorry. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. This is so nice. I really appreciate it. Brandy, you look so nice. So good to see you. Brandy was just at the retreat. We had the best time.
Awesome. Yeah,
We
I'm
gotta get
lucky.
Oscar, tell the world who you are. I'm putting him on the spot. Maybe he didn't want to go.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Oscar. Video editor of Jesse. Jesse, happy birthday to you. That's all. Happy Wednesday.
I really appreciate it. Thank you all for coming on Wednesday. I really appreciate that. I'm super surprised.
Happy birthday, Jesse. We all
Thank you,
love
Layla. This was super sweet. I really appreciate it.
Also,
I love how happy birthday's backwards on DJ's thing.
It's backwards?
Yeah.
Yes, it's.
I reversed it because it was backwards on mine.
Oh, I don't know. I see it backwards. What the audience sees. Anyone watching who's not here?
That's still embarrassing.
Alrighty, we can get back to the show. Thanks, Jimmy and Dane, for letting me steal 5 minutes of your time. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it. Did you
No
guys
worries. Good live stream crash.
Thank you, everyone.
Peace.
Bye.
Okay, let me remove everyone that's not supposed to be here. Thanks. Okay, here we go, and bye, guys.
Okay, so that was really nice. Thank you so much, everyone. I don't even know what to say. I'm speechless. I don't know. I feel embarrassed a little bit, but let's get into topic 3. So, topic 3 is how generative AI is changing local search. So, Dane, I believe this is your topic. Could you kick us off on the local search topic?
Yeah. It's not about blue links. It's about conversations. It's not about traffic. It's about conversion. So we want to make sure that again we're placing ourselves in front of the right folks through their path to purchase. Right. You want to wait till the event horizon of they're ready to become a lead, but how can we influence them along the way? And so generative AI is putting the onus on marketers and particularly SEOs working within these platforms and understanding how these platforms operate to make sure that these small businesses do have the right content, right context. To Jimmy's point earlier too, press releases, I think, of course, are important. Brand mentions, when small businesses, if they're a member of Chamber of Commerce, make sure you have a good description on the Commerce website about your business. You participate in a sponsorship. Provide that information to them. There was a question about, hey, do backlinks and citations still matter? Yeah, I mean, that's still other information, right? Links are still sort of like referrals saying that you're a trustworthy site, and citations help solidify that information, right? It's confirming some of the basic information that those systems can understand about you. When you think about doing outreach and again, community building, making sure you have the right details in that business description you provide to those folks to put on their digital assets, making sure you have the right context in that, making sure that there are not gaps that we're creating for those LLMs to misinterpret or try to fill themselves or create inaccuracies about the brand. Generative search is, for local businesses, the pivot from, yes, you still want to do link building, but again, as Jimmy said, those brand mentions are important. Building out more robust context. I would say even probably maybe more important than links, backlinks in the very near future, and what's very important now already anyway, would be internal linking. Having strategic internal links so that way, number one, you build pathways to create crawl efficiencies because these systems don't have inexhaustible computational power, right? It takes money for them to discover. So those internal links, think of those as being laser focused. Also think about links as be the tour guide, on your website when you get them to your website, right? Build brand awareness, be in those conversations as they're considering or seeking information, get your logo and your name in front of them, be a citation and those other outputs. But then ultimately, hopefully you influence them in that journey that they select your business. And it's also true for AI agents, right? They're going to need to find the quickest pathway to deliver on what that search intent is, what that consumer's intent is. So internal links are part of sort of the technical SEO that's really important that a lot of agencies are really bad at. So where do we want to point those links at and be selective, but also, again, what makes sense for that person's next step, right? Be the tour guide. Provide them a pathway to dig deeper into the content that you have. And sometimes, it won't even be an internal link. It'll be additional context on the page. And then think about what is that next step? What is that next piece of information that person needs? So that sort of internal neural network of links is really important. So understanding also, what these LLMs know about your business, not just about your business as a brand, but about your core topics around the products or services that you offer, as well as what they know about your competitors, because you want to make sure that there are no significant gaps in understanding about who you are and what you offer for these platforms to be able to pull. So again, going back to that question about backlink citations, or is it about content and context? It's about it all. It's about applying best practices on every single platform and every single page and every single output you generate to make sure you have the right information to again, feed those systems. And so, yes, context and content is extremely important. And I would caution against the idea that, especially in automotive and small businesses, I've noticed there are a lot of agencies that are purporting to be able to do really good content at scale. But if you think about what they're doing, what they're either doing is they're just paying someone really cheap to create really generic content, and then they're just finding replacing different adverbs, adjectives, nouns, brand name, city, state. but they might be leveraging AI. And there's nothing wrong with leveraging AI to get inspiration or help you with drafts of content. But these agencies will just put in a generic input and get a generic output, right? These LLMs can't create anything new. They can just sort of regurgitate what's in that data set that they already have. On average, it takes about 500 words of a prompt to get a really good unique output, right? Putting in your unique perspective, pulling in first party data, other pieces of information you might have based on your conversations with your customers. About 500 words. It takes the average person about 30 minutes to write 500 words. So extrapolate that. For those agencies who are saying they'll create you 40 pieces of content a month, they're not doing that, right? They're not going to be putting in the real effort to get that good output. And here's an important thing, and I'll kind of end on this to allow other Jimmy and you all to talk, is that, there are certain signals with Google, and one of those, and I know I keep talking about Google, but this is going to be true really for any system looking for truly unique content. There's a thing called content effort. It's a signal that says, how easy can this be duplicated? And so you either get increased value or devalued based on how easily someone else could just replicate what you've done. So that's why it's important about diversifying not just the content you're creating in terms of the different pieces you create, but diversifying what's on the page itself, being media rich, having, again, going back to the idea of charts and graphs and other information to make that much more skimmable and consumable. So think about the effort it takes as a first signal before you even get into algorithmic ranking signals and measurements.
Oh man, so much to unpack there. Dane, Jimmy, I welcome you to start. What's your take on all this?
That was just nasty. I mean, all that you just hit him hard.
He just hit it hard.
And
so much.
And I loved every bit of that. And in regards to, I've run across these mills that we call that will produce all this content, and it is not good. If you do not interject humans into the mix, into the creation process, you're setting yourself up for a very quick win, but a huge disappointment. That's one. When it comes to, he mentioned a little bit about the press releases. So let's go a little deeper into that, and I'll kind of go into that in the next talk. But we're not, as small businesses, not used to bigging up the something big that's happened in our business, a new hire, a new strategic partnership, a new opportunity. And now these are the things that can start to continue to improve your authority, and the way that you differentiate from your competitors, because competition to me is the best thing on the planet. Competitors pay what we call tuition. That means if you're paying attention to your competitors, let them make the mistakes, let them pave the way in a way that you might not be able to do that, and then your job is to learn from that and figure out, how can I do things better? There are a lot of different things that can happen, a lot of signals that give you the opportunity to take in all of this information. If you've never done it before, it sounds like a massive amount of things you got to do, but it takes practice. These are things you're going to have to think about, as depending on your position in the company. If you are an SEO, that next stage is to look at the bigger picture of both traditional and AI based. There is no one or the other. They have to be a part of the same team. And what I've seen is, as I'm working with a lot of businesses with small teams up to say 20 people, I'm like, AI is forcing us to be more of a company-wide initiative, where we need buy-in and input from other members in different departments, because that helps strengthen what we're trying to do to show up better in these platforms, and having them use social media better, having them making sure they're mentioning the brand name, having them make sure that when people reply to them, they mention the brand name, so there's those mentions that we're getting out there, and we're getting that trust factor through testimonials and different things like that, which will help on a local and an organic level.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you're watching, I hope you're taking notes, because we've got two AI gurus here, and I'd love to hear what the audience thinks about all this. I know earlier we did have a question actually from Nina. She said, can you recommend any certifications in local GEO, SEO, or GEO? Anyone know any certifications on that?
There are some local SEO ones. I mean, I know like SEMrush has a course, including our COO Greg Gifford is a sort of a lecturer in that. I would say, I would be less concerned about finding courses and more about practical application, right? You can take some of these content. I mean, I go back and I read Google's quality rater guidelines probably about every 6 months to refresh myself. They have sort of the Search Central where you have documentation from Google, but you don't just want to just trust what Google says. Google says a lot of things that, well, in practical application, you see sort of the conversely what really works. But, take those foundations. And that's why, like I mentioned at the top of the first question, how I did that AI overview study. Don't rest on the idea of that, because there's a Google document about that. Take that and test it. So I think it's really the practical application, applying the trade and testing things and conducting analyses yourself is going to generate a lot more feedback for you and insights than just some sort of course you go through to get a certification. But that's just my opinion on the matter.
And I can jump in on that, and I 100% agree. I always when I talk about this topic, I go, it's happening in real time, So you have to be learning and implementing at the same time. I'm actually a big fan of the SEMrush's AI toolkit. I've tested a lot, and it's the one I like the most. But I still will go into a Perplexity and Gemini and test what it's telling me is true, just to confirm if it's true or not, because from my perspective, I'm a consultant working with small businesses, so I need to be extremely clear on what's happening and the results that we can have if we follow these recommended steps that I give them. I'll big up the fact that, I did a 6-part series. It's not a certification, but again, I wouldn't even offer this as a certification because it's literally, I don't want to say it's outdated, and I did it 2 months ago, but the tools that I'm using are changing so fast. So at the end of the day, you just have to learn and play at the same time and understand. Go into these tools like Gemini and whatnot and do specific searches. Do not necessarily don't just drop your brand name in, but start leveraging, conversations like I'm losing my mind here. Leverage conversational talk around your products, your services, and see who's coming up. Look at those competitors and see, because I always say if the person offline is not your competitor online, you have two different things to look at now. And I'm all about digital at this point because I'm looking for discovery. So I'm more interested in those online competitors that are crushing it, because there's always new opportunity because they're crushing it online.
Yeah, 100%. Ooh, such a good topic. Keep the comments coming from the audience too. Nina, you got great questions. Anyone else have any questions? Let us know. I'm going to hold my comments on this for the sake of time so we can get into our fourth topic. But before we do, let's just offer both of you a chance to wrap it up. And any actionable, first actionable tip you might give the audience. What can they do tonight to get started on all this?
All right, I'll go ahead.
Dane?
I appreciate that. I know we both started chomping at the bit there. I saw it. I saw the enthusiasm. I'll kind of do. I'll give maybe two in here. Right. Number one is, I think every business, because not everyone's going to be really savvy with SEO, is go to your internal team, go to your agency partner, and ask why as many times as you need to till you feel satisfied. Why this piece of content? Why this formatting? Why this particular asset on the page? Ask why to make sure it makes sense. One thing you can do, you can go on pages of your site, pull out a string of text, put it in a double quotes in a Google search, make sure you don't have duplicate content on your site. Last thing, one thing you can start doing tonight is start getting on other review platforms. Don't rely on just Google Business Profile. Yes, that is very, very important, but have a diversity of platforms where people are leaving reviews for you, because right now people are gaming the system by writing listicles. I predict that these systems are going to get much more sophisticated to see through that and really understand who is crafting a really good reputation. And lastly, do things your competitors are not to make people talk about you. I'll give you one quick practical example. There is a dealership here in Pensacola in which when you buy a car, you get a fresh baked apple strudel from the bakery that the dealership owns. Now, I'm not telling everyone to bake an apple strudel, but guess what? On Quora, on Reddit, on different platforms and reviews, people are talking about this darn apple strudel. People are talking about the business in a positive sentiment because then they refer to the good experience they had in the car buying process as well. So do things others aren't willing to do to create conversations about your brand.
Yes, to stand out. I love that. How about you, Jimmy?
All right. So for me, if you're going to take the AI search approach, I would say the first thing that you should do is leverage a tool to just determine what your standing is across as many of these platforms as you can. And of course, I'm not going to leave you hanging with that. You can do that with, you're welcome, Nina. You can do that with a free tool HubSpot released and I believe at the time it was called an AI search grader, which is free, and it will grade you across Gemini, ChatGPT, and Perplexity. Or you can use HubSpot. They finally introduced a free piece on their AI toolkit where you can drop your URL in as well and just see exactly how am I even showing up in any of them. And of course, the smaller your website, the less provable the data is. So if you've got a huge website that's really well optimized, the content is the results will be a lot more favorable to you, but they'll actually be closer to the real number. If you have a very small site, then it might not be able to pick up everything. But at the end of the day, what I typically do for my clients is drop them into one of those tools just to get an idea of are they even showing up in AI search? Because if you're not showing up at all, you have a bigger problem than trying to show up in AI search.
So you said one of those tools. So which tool?
HubSpot has a HubSpot search AI search grader, and SEMrush had introduced a piece of something that will allow people to drop their URL in. And this was like maybe a week or two ago when they introduced that.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. Thank you for bringing that up. And if anyone knows any other free tools that help you with that, plug those in the comments because I'm curious as well. Thank you for that actionable advice, both of you. And let's move into our final topic, which is strategic partnerships for growth. So we were very much looking at like SEO and technical things. Now we're looking more into like the human approach. So Jimmy, I believe this is your topic.
It is.
Can you kick us off on strategic partnerships for growth? Well, I mean, what do we need to know?
Well, before I do that, how much time do I have?
I mean,
and I mean like
the
2
show
minutes.
ends at 9. Do you have time, Dane, to stick around?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to make it quick, but
Okay.
this is one of my all-time favorite topics. So I'm a big proponent of strategic partnerships. And what I always say, for a strategic partnership to work, you have to have what we call the triple win. The first win is always for the end user. The second win is for the partner. And then the third win is you. If you can achieve the first two, the third one is automatic. Why is the third one automatic? Because you should have a strategy in place for strategic partnership outreach, and what that means is I have objectives and goals for the year. I have objectives and goals for our strategic plan, which goes 25 years from today. And all of that's in alignment. And when I do that, part of our overall strategy is strategic partnerships. So I have partnerships with a lot of really big organizations, and I'm still considering myself a peon. So the question becomes, well, why would these organizations that are 10, 100 times my size find value in a partnership? And it's because I'm very specific on what we do. I'm an expert in the way that we execute. I'm very clear on the target audience that I serve. I'm very clear on how I serve that audience. And then and when I look at a partner, I have tools that help me evaluate where they are, how do I align my goals with their goals, so anything I pitch to them has a better chance of being heard by the right person, so then we can continue our discovery of each other and then figure out how do we align our goals and objectives together so they get what they want, the end user gets what they want, and then I end up getting what I want as the person who initiated the strategic partnership. The one biggest thing about strategic partnerships for me, the one that's either a yes or a no, is if there is no alignment with the audience we both serve, there is no opportunity for a strategic partnership. That's my personal belief. That doesn't mean we can't be a relationship, but a relationship is not a partnership. And another thing that's not a partnership is if someone, and I get this all the time, so it irritates the crap out of me, is someone will say, hey, we'd love to partner with you and help you with your marketing. But that means I have to pay you. That is not a strategic partnership. Stop calling that a partnership. A strategic partnership is when we both come together, we both put skin in the game for the future payout of something that's bigger than the both of us before we came together.
Yes. I agree 100%. We both put skin in the game. It can't just be one-sided, and that's hence partnership. Thank you, Jimmy. That's really good stuff there. Dane, I see you nodding. What stood out to you there?
No, yeah, I mean it's about value, right? And I can speak to it from working for an agency, so I have a little bit of a different sort of ability to talk about it than Jimmy does. But to me, it's to be a good strategic partner for the folks that we work with, the small business we work with. It's being a good listener and understanding, hearing their pain points, and that goes beyond the scope of just doing SEO or PPC. It's a matter of hearing other issues they might be encountering and understanding within the marketplace what other solutions are out there that I could offer to them, that not because I get a kickback or not because there's any referral fees I get, but because I know that these companies do really good work. So I actually leverage when I speak at conferences, engaging with other vendor folks in the space, so that way I can kind of, and I'm not going to be an expert in everything, right? I don't want to be a jack of all trades, master of none, but I can at least get an intuitive assessment of, is this BS or is this real, based on how they're talking about their product, based on sort of some of the insights they offer. So that way I can give our partners some options that might solve some other things that I, as an SEO or PPC provider, cannot provide them.
Yes. Great feedback. Yes. Thank you so much. And I agree. It's nice to have partners who do something in similar space, but have a different value than what you're adding. So for example, like I have a partner who focuses on LinkedIn DMs. I do nothing with LinkedIn DMs, but we help people post on LinkedIn and go live on LinkedIn. So it's a great partnership. You send me people, I send you people. Great. So I totally hear you there. Jimmy, anything else you could tell the audience before we wrap up on partnerships? Like if they are, at a company, I'm trying to think of who's here, like at a startup company or they're starting their own business. What are the first actionable steps you might suggest they take to build these partnerships?
The easiest, if someone reaches out to you, you got to do your homework on them. And this is where I'll look up anything about them. I'll use these same tools I used for, to help our clients to understand where they are. I'll also go to the site. I look for their purpose, their vision, their mission. I want to see if there's alignment with their values and our values. All of these little things that says we are a perfect fit together. We think the same. We're on the same mission. We're driving down the same path. So I think what I would say is kind of develop kind of like a partnership kit. And that partnership kit will have, here's what we consider a great partner. And here are the things that we do best, that partner could find value in. I know when someone reaches out to me about partnerships before them, if it's even going to work, unless they can change my mind after we have a discovery call, because I have a set of criteria that has to be met in order for me to even want to talk partnership. And it's not a thing to be mean. It's clarity, so neither one of us waste our time and energy, and then we find out 6 months down the line, after you wasted a lot of time and energy, that this was never going to work in the first place.
Yes, exactly. It's a good point. And a lot of the time I feel like you kind of get a feeling in the beginning about those things in the first place. You got to just watch for the red flags.
But people still would charge straight through, even with the feeling, and that's when it feels worse.
Yeah,
when it doesn't
exactly.
work.
Like you got to stop it before it gets too far. Like as soon as you start to, But anyway, I digress. We've gotten through the 4 topics. And the next thing would be the guru of the week. Ooh. All right. So I'm pulling myself out of the screen here. Tell us about the gurus of the week and why we should go follow these people.
Jimmy, if you want to kick it off.
All right, sure. Alina Doran. She is has become a really great friend and confidant of mine, and I want to say this was a very hard decision because I know a lot of people, and I know a lot of people that deserve this award that they're getting here. But I really do like a lot of stuff gelled between us. I've learned a lot from her in regards to things that I don't do well or I don't even care to do. And she's pointed out how certain things, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. We get to a certain age where we're just set in our ways, and she's starting to help me get out of those. And so great for her for that. But I also respect the things she's done and the turns that she's made in her career. So it's very, very exciting for that. So riveting. Thank you very much. Yes. So I chose Alina Doran.
Yeah, I chose Dana Di Tommaso. She travels the globe. She would put me to shame in terms of providing insights on GA4, right? Google Analytics. She is very generous with her time. She was one of the first guests of a new podcast I launched recently, More Than You Can Chew. And she was, to me, like, she doesn't know me from Adam, right? So it's like, she still was willing to come on and have a great conversation. But whether you follow her on LinkedIn, if you follow her on other social media, you go on her website, there is just a wealth of knowledge she just gives away for free because she's just that good at communicating and delineating different issues people are encountering with analytics. And so, it's just the brilliance of her in talking about that. And, she engages in her own posts with people who are leaving comments. Again, like I said, I did a podcast with her, so I don't know her personally. I cannot call her a friend, but I would say she is someone who is an incredible resource for anyone in the space trying to better understand how to create clarity, pull data, and even just set up a Google Analytics account.
I'm on mute. Setting up a Google Analytics account. It's true. I'm even like, this sounds horrible because I know how important Google Analytics is, but I haven't checked my Google Analytics in a while. And that just goes to show. I know, but dark social, we don't need to because we go live and then, or we, meet people through the posts on LinkedIn and then they search us on Google. So they learn about us on LinkedIn and they search us on Google. So it's like when you say, how did you hear about us? The whatever attribution software will say Google search, but it's like, no, dark social. They came in, they've been watching the live stream for the last month, so it's like, I guess I still should though. Like now that we're getting ready to scale, I need to start looking at my SEO and my analytics and all that sort of stuff. But yeah. That's like the actionable advice for all business owners right there is just open your Google Analytics, start it if you don't have it already. I feel like Google Analytics got all complicated though a couple years ago with their GA4. They I don't know, you have to set up certain, like the conversion points.
Your key events. Yeah, you have to set up key events. You can toggle off, on and off. And then there's different nomenclature. People use different nomenclature for different conversions that are happening based on your agency you're working with, or your web developer you're working with. And it can be a mess to clean up. But it's definitely worth the effort to be able to glean to make those data-driven decisions.
Totally.
And even just use the out the box settings. Not everybody can be a GA4 guru, and I'm not one. But I do find tremendous value in the basics, and then I connect them to all my tools. So I don't even have to go to Google to GA4 directly. I usually get the data I'm looking for depending on the tool that I'm in.
Yeah. Okay. Great advice. So everyone who's listening, go into your GA4 and get it, ramped up. And you're right. The out of the box tools are pretty good too. Like just to see the traffic, be able to break it down a little bit. Yeah, absolutely. So we did the Guru of the Week. I think we covered everything at this point. We need to just hear a little bit more from both of you. who it is you serve, how you serve them, and if they could be served by you, how do they reach you? We'll start with you, Dane. Could you let everyone know?
Yeah, I'm with SearchLab Digital, and we do two things. We do local SEO and PPC services, and we work with only really small businesses. So if you have a physical location that people come into to conduct business, or you're someone who has a service area like a plumber, if you work within a specific market, we work with you. So again, we want to focus on being really good at these two services, not just offer a full suite, and we're not really great at any of them. So if you're a small business looking for both either organic visibility, so again, influencing those LLM platforms, showing up in Google search results, or you're looking for a paid search strategies, meaning those ads you're going to see across Google's network. Those are the two things that we do for those types of businesses, whether it's single point, multi-point, or franchise. We've worked with them all, both full scope of work and as well as just consulting.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. And Jimmy, how about you?
Sure. So I'm the CEO and founder of Moving Forward Small Business. Our objective is to be the strategic support system for small businesses. And we've zoned in on 0 to 20, meaning solopreneurs to up to 20 people. We produce training, and we do a lot of group training in our community. We have probably about over 230 hours of on-demand training around growth strategies when it comes to innovation, technology, and strategy. We always say you don't have a marketing problem, you don't have a sales problem, you don't have a finance problem, you have a strategy problem. And when we're able to look at strategy at the highest level, but then figure out how do we dive into each of the strategies, then we can make it extremely actionable. So we have on-demand training, and then every month we do about 5 to 7 hours of group training around a specific topic that should be relevant to all the small businesses in our community. So we're community based. We're currently in our lifetime, so people can pay one time and never pay again to be in the community. It's so ridiculously cheap. We made it $349, and it's not $1,000, not $10,000.
Nice.
It's that because we're more interested in getting people in, because we think some of the biggest roadblocks when it comes to this technology is just education. You don't have to be the one doing this AI search stuff, but you need to understand how it works. So when you either bring someone on board to do it, or you outsource it through a third-party platform, you understand what's going on, and you have enough information and intelligence around it to talk and know that that they're contributing properly to the service that you're paying for, but you're also making sure you're giving them what they need so they can do their job.
Yes.
And
100%.
so Moving Forward Small Business is where they can find us.
Okay. So you said where what was the
They
website
can find
where
us
they can find you?
at movingforwardsmallbusiness.com.
Okay, movingforwardsmallbusiness.com. Okay, I just heard smallbusiness.com. I'm like, I know you don't own that domain.
Not yet. I might have to negotiate with somebody and find a couple $100 million.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, thank you both for sharing about yourselves. Thank you for coming on the show, sharing your guru of the week, your perspective on AI, sitting through my birthday shenanigans. I really appreciate that.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Oh, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Well, this has been a really excellent show. Thank you for everyone who's tuning in. We've got another really great episode planned for next week. We've got Dylan Jarras and Mary Delano coming on. And so, hope you can join us next week as well. But until then, Dane and Jimmy, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thanks again so much.
Thank you.
It's been a privilege to be on. Yeah, thank you for having us.
Amazing. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and close out with an outro video. See you next week, everyone.